I said in the last video, there's one topic that gets overlooked in singing training a lot, and it's a tool or coordination many singers never even encounter in their training. In fact, so many people are trying to gain what they may call control over their singing that they're engaging muscular coordinations that prevent this one thing from being discovered. I'm talking about laryngeal freedom, and it may be a missing key that will unlock all kinds of vocal possibility for you. Hey there, if you're new here, my name's Dan Calloway. I teach musical theater voice and vocal pedagogy at Boston Conservatory at Berkeley. More than 25 years kicking around on equity stages and more than 15 years helping singers get to work on Broadway, national tours, regionally and around the world, and I'm very glad that you are here with me today. In the video before this one, I detailed the reasons why laryngeal freedom was such a big deal, understanding how your physiology works and cooperating with it, understanding the domino or cascading effects of certain static muscular holds, experiencing what it is to allow your natural essence to vibrate through your particular instrument without withholding parts of yourself bound up in unnecessary muscular engagements. And working with a deeper knowledge of you, you can collaborate with physiological and acoustic factors to most efficiently create the sounds that you want to share as authentic communication within whatever style you're singing in. And in that video, I talked about how your breath impulse affects your laryngeal function and how to begin giving yourself evidence of that reality, understanding how the movement of your breath creates very nuanced subglottal pressures is big news. And when you start to tune in to your body and ask it how much breath and support you need phrase by phrase, big changes start to happen. Today, we're going to look back at your larynx from the opposite direction and ask, what effects does the vocal tract have on the larynx? How does the way you shape things from your vocal folds to the opening of your mouth or nose, depending on which way it's going, how does that shape impact what your folds are doing and the overall function of your larynx? When you start to get a handle on these concepts, even more things are going to change. I guarantee you, when I'm singing in front of folks, adrenalized and feeling like I don't have full cognitive access, these tools of breath and tract shaping see me through all the time. I know I'll make a certain shape, take the breath I need, flow the energy I think is right for that phrase, and still I am always so beautifully surprised that it works. Before we get to the basic how-tos here, I want to highlight a terrific comment I received on the last video from Eric. So thank you, Eric. Eric said, tension can be habituated to such an extent that you don't identify it as tension. You simply accept it as, this is the way my voice works and feels. If all a person has known their whole life is hyperfunction, how can they ever conceive of anything other? The nervous system's future activation is based on the experiences and patterns fed into it, either deliberately or otherwise, throughout life. Improving the voice is breaking this cycle. It takes time because the nervous system doesn't form new neural pathways overnight. Eric, I could not have said it better. That's why I quoted you. This is often why I say singing should feel offensively easy. Offensive because when you discover the feeling of ease and coordination singing can be, you might get a little angry at all the hard work and frustration you've been experiencing. I always say, though, contrast is a wonderful teacher and gratitude booster. If I've had an experience of suffering before and now live in a healthier, more vibrant way, that former experience makes the current wellness that much sweeter. Eric is right, though. We habituate certain patterns and they become enmeshed into procedural memory. So trying out new coordinations requires cognitive rigor, courage, and trust. You are indeed creating a new cycle. I try to do this every day as a parent. Creating a new cycle is recognizing the default programming that's working like background software. One of the boys will do something that in my growing up would have been met with some strong reaction or harsh discipline, and that memory rises up in my body. It is both reactive reflex from my own memory as a child and an in-the-moment fear of being unheard as an adult. And looking at these feelings with consciousness is actually emotionally painful. It happened this morning trying to get the boys ready for school and out the door. The same happens with singing. We are learning to move emotionally charged vibration through our bodies, and we all have specific histories with what it means to express emotions. It was not always met with acceptance and connection, so our bodies learned ways to control that emotional energy. Our 5-year-old asked me last night at bedtime, I'd cut my finger, still a little cut there, with a bread knife a few days before, and I said a few choice words, I'm sure, but he said, "Daddy, why when adults get hurt like that, why don't they cry?" And that's a terrific question from a 5-year-old point of view. I told him that most adults might not find getting cuts or scrapes as scary as you do when you're 5, though it can still be quite painful. But I think about the ways we learn to stifle expression in order to maintain acceptance and connection in our environments. Even feel what your tongue does if you're trying not to cry about something. The engagement in your tongue root might feel similar to some of the tensions you experience when you're singing. The brain often doesn't know the difference between singing and telling someone what they did hurt your feelings. So now that we're feeling the elements of the tract, let's talk about how the shape of your tract affects laryngeal function and how you can leverage that in your own vocal technique. Let's yodel. All right, here we go. Ooh-ay, 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 ooh-ay. So you'll go ooh, ooh on the higher pitch, ooh in mode 2 head voice, and a on the lower pitch in your chest voice mode 1. Ooh-ay, 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 ooh-ay. Just play around with that a little bit. Now I want you to put your focus on the actual shaping of the vowel and see how it has a reflective or backward effect on the folds. The ooh, ooh promotes a mode 2 head voice coordination, while the A promotes a chest or mode 1 coordination. If you trade the vowels, make the A the mode 2 head voice and the ooh the mode 1 chest voice like this, A, ooh, A, ooh, A, ooh, then switch back, ooh, A, ooh, A, ooh, A. You'll see that the ooh helps head voice and the A helps chest voice. Then you can add on to that. You can do ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah, and just keep playing with that. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah. Ooh and ee, they like head voice, and eh and ah, they like chest voice. This is because of the acoustic environment these vowel coordinations set up. Simply, ooh and ee, they create a larger initial resonant cavity in your tract. So the acoustic energy that bounces back to the folds is less intense or energetic, while vowels like A and ah, they set the tongue in a position that creates a cozier space from the folds to where the dorsum of the tongue relates to the hard palate. Therefore, the acoustic chamber, that first acoustic chamber from where your folds vibrate to where the tongue relates to the hard palate, that chamber is cozier and you get more sound wave bounce back to the folds. This helps support more mode 1 or chest vibration, which involves the body and the cover of your folds. That's mode 1, the body of the fold and the cover of the fold both vibrating. And when you practice with any semi-occluded vocal tract exercise like brrr or v, or using a straw, or ooh, singing through loosely held together lips, you're leveraging air pressure for this kind of feeling. Air pressure is being sent back to the folds, so it balances sub and supraglottic pressures. When we leverage acoustics for this same benefit, we move parts of the vocal tract to create this same balanced feeling. So when I coordinate my tract in a way that sends sound waves backward to the folds, there is a boost of acoustic energy, and the vibrations of the folds themselves receive an efficiency benefit. I'm going to keep this video mostly about practice before I go down an acoustics rabbit hole. But if acoustics interest you, check out the work of Dr. Kenneth Bozeman and get ready to use your brain and do some math. So that's Dr. Kenneth Bozeman. And I'll link his information in the description. But let's go back to your yodels. Ooh-eh, ooh-eh, ee-ah, ee-ah, ooh-eh, ooh-eh, ee-ah, ee-ah. Notice when you hear yodelers, what are the vowels they use when they pop into head voice? Usually, it's on an oo or an e. So my dad used to always yodel in the car when we were kids, and we'd always ask him to demonstrate for us. And so Dad would go, yodel-a-yodel-a-yodel-oo. And so notice what vowels are on those flips. Yodel-a-yodel-a-yodel-oo. I think those pitches were somewhat accurate. But the oohs and e's are the ones we like to flip on. And think about who are some of your favorite yodelers in more contemporary music. So I love Brandi Carlile, and you can hear the vowels she uses when she yodels. So if you take it back to just even the story, some old school Brandi. So if you got all of these lines across my face, tell you the story of who I am. So many stories of where I've been. That abrupt shift into chest comes easily on an e vowel. So many stories of where I've been. That abrupt shift into chest. Yeah, she uses an e vowel. And then in the next verse, and she goes, I climbed across the mountain tops, I swam across the swam across the ocean blue. So on the ocean, on the yodel, she moves, when she's singing the in chest voice, that's an I vowel. She's going swam all across the ocean, oh. So I went off pitch, but you get it. Oh. I can't do it now. What is it? Swam across the ocean blue. Yeah, so that the is changing from an I vowel, which will sustain mode 1, and then the yodel is using an E. So you're going they swam all across the and then she's flipping back into O on an open O on chest voice. My yodel demonstration. But later, then she goes, crossed all the lines and I broke. So even on that broke, she uses that American R shape to yodel into mode 2 there. Crossed all the lines and I broke all the rules. So using those little shapes, those are tract shape changes that cause that abrupt modal shift. So those are really fun ways to play with these phrases and vowels, and you can move them all around and notice how the shape of your tract is making this change happen. So like even if I took Brandi a little lower, right? What is it? So if I come across the mountain top, swam all across in the ocean blue. So you can swim all across in the ocean blue. So you can take it around in different places and see how the shape of your tract causes those abrupt modal shifts. There's a terrific professor at Coastal Carolina University, Amelia Rollings-Bigler. She teaches a lot on group voice training, and I've learned a lot from her. And she likes to use the Cranberries. She uses zombie as a modal switch exercise. So in your head, zombie, 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 hey, 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 oh, oh, oh. So she uses zombie. So that's literally just a movement of the tongue. Zombie, hey. I'm going, eh, and I'm literally moving the tongue a little farther forward. Zombie, 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 eh, eh. I don't know if you can see, but the movements of the tongue is just a little farther forward, creating a little bit more space from the folds to where the tongue relates to the hard palate, opening that space a little bit, causing it to pop into mode 2. Alanis, she's really fun to play with. I actually think a lot of Alanis's yodely offsets are a big reason for her vocal longevity. That requires a good amount of laryngeal freedom. So I heard her last summer and she sounds amazing. The reason this is so important to play with is because it shows you that there is a ton of influence that your acoustic shape has. If you feel like you're struggling with cracking on transitional notes or certain vowels, or when you try to articulate certain words, it's almost always a tract shaping issue that's causing any kind of modal confusion or frustration. I was in a production of Putting It Together once. It's a Sondheim review, and I sang Marry Me a Little. I think it was in D flat, and the song topped out on an A flat. Yeah, someone, and one night I got a little choked up with emotion, and the A flat came out like, it was like, someone, and it was fine. I stayed emotionally connected, but the next night, of course, I was freaking out about it, and I didn't know these acoustic tools, and I repeated the beleaguered donkey sound, only this time in a very self-conscious way. Critical people wrote about it online and everything. It was quite painful. And like I said, I did not understand how tract shape informed this. How if I'd put some ah inside the vowel, someone, I would have had a better chance of success with that A flat. So if I went, so, you see my tongue sort of shifting. I was trying to make more space. I thought I needed more space, and that was the opposite of what I needed. I just didn't understand how to set up a shape that would support mode 1 on that A flat. So that was, a painful lesson, but those are the kinds of lessons that I feel like help me with teaching, because I understand how it feels to be confused. And if I can give someone a tool to help you be less confused, then that's very satisfying. So yeah, I would have had a much better chance of success with that A flat. And like I said, it is super frustrating to be confused and not have straightforward tools that you can practice, even if it takes a little while to get them instantiated, like Eric was talking about. It doesn't happen overnight, but if you keep practicing these coordinations, after several nights of sleep, your body starts to map new patterns, which is wonderful. So to review, there are certain acoustic shapes that promote mode 1, and generally this means the top of your tongue is going to be riding quite high in the mouth. The top of the tongue is going to be up toward the hard palate, and the back of your tongue will be creating a rather cozy space where sound waves can bounce back and forth and create amplification. These are vowels like e, ah, e. So e, ah, e. And the blends of those vowels, so e will blend to and e or I will blend to e. So those are just blends with rounded lips in front. So if you call out a and then change that to an that's an with my tongue. So if I just move the tongue arch slightly forward, creating a more open acoustic chamber from the folds to the tongue to palate relating point, I'll get a yodel. So if I go okay, all right, so that's literally just me moving my tongue. That's changing the registration that's happening in my folds. Same with the I vowel, I. You hear this like in high rock singing, like you. That's an I vowel. If I'm singing you, like Journey or whatever, yeah. So if I move my tongue from the I to the E, you're gonna get that same yodel feeling. Is literally just tongue movement. It's millimeters. If even millimeters, it might be like 1.5 millimeters. Tiny movements make a huge difference. It's important to know this. It is that precise. It is that precise. And when you practice these things, you do feel like, whoa, that is razor's edge. And you're right. If you move your tongue just a little bit, it can shift the mode. That's why that sound feels exciting. We can muscularly feel that it could flip over into mode 2, just with 1 millimeter of movement in the tongue, okay? It doesn't mean that you're gonna be static. If you're singing, you're moving, but you just understand how the coordinations work together. So this information is gold, because then you begin to ask yourself, how much air do I need? How much support do I need? Remember that from the how much air do I need? How much support do I need? That's your subglottal pressure. That's the breath energy relating to the folds. Then what tract shape is going to set me up to make the sound I want to make in this particular genre or style. I sang an aria at a faculty recital last February, and to be honest, when I got to the end, I was tired and a little scared. So I did just what I described. I asked how much air and what shape, and I prayed for the best. So the note did not come out as I ideally wished, but it came out. So I use this understanding all the time, and like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm still amazed every time it works. It also fosters a wonderfully receptive and invitational feeling when you're singing. If you're collaborating with acoustic energy that's bouncing back toward you, you're also embodying a welcoming energy when you sing, and that's terrific. Think of how wonderful it is to hear a singer who welcomes you into their experience. Understanding your tract shape is a great technical tool to allow this to happen, and you'll collaborate much more wisely with your physiology and the laws of physics, because like gravity, they work how they work. If you haven't grabbed it before, I have a free series of exercises for laryngeal freedom and breath understanding that you can get down in the description. And for more discussion on the vowels you can always depend on, you can check out this video where I talk about vowels and mode 1 chest. It's very much in terms of the complete vocal technique framework. My understanding and teaching on this has changed a little, but the vowel principles I still very much use. So check that out if you want some more clarification on these vowel shapes, and you'll find that helpful. And remember, most of all, please, there is only one you, and somebody would love to hear the story that only you can sing. Love much. Now go sing.